95% of all finance businesses aren't sellable. And it's not because you don't make money, you don't make profit. It's simply just because the founder is too involved in all of the day-to-day, every single major lender relationship, broker relationship, referrer relationship, lead generation. And the biggest thing I've learned now after hiring over 200 people, obviously hiring and firing, that's not the current team size, over the last 6.5 years, is how to actually structure a team for performance. And basically a finance business, when you think of it, is just a sales operation. You don't have fulfillment. Most lenders, they will have fulfillment because they need a credit team and everything like that. But a brokerage is, the fulfillment is money. It's from a lender. So your main thing day to day needs to be marketing and sales. That's all you need to become the absolute best at. So today I'm going to run you through every single thing I've learned from hiring over 200 people over the last 6.5 years and what you can learn in terms of team culture and how to scale the company and things you can implement today. So let's jump right in. So 200 staff taught me this about people. So it's going to be a complete framework for managing, training, and building culture and high performance sales teams and general teams. So every single thing here applies to every single kind of team. So the purpose framework defines the standard for actually managing, training, and developing high performance teams. Okay, this is the daily, weekly onboarding cadence that drives consistent skill development, consistent performance, and actually makes you be able to consistently grow. So, training culture. Number one, mastery is a volume game. Okay, every single thing, whether you do it one time or 100th, the 100th time is going to be the time that you are better than the first. Okay, so the mastery curve. So, rep 10, you stop sounding like a beginner. Script starts to feel natural. So let's do a sales specific example. Then when you're on rep number 40 of mastering a specific script, you can actually run the call without thinking. And this is just an example. Okay, we're going to run into more examples. Then when you get into say reps 40 to 80, you can adapt mid-call and actually start thinking about objections and other things like that. So to give you an example in something else, let's say you work in credit for a lender. Something like that is going to be when you look at so many deals, example deals, when you get onboarded onto a company, you are going to 100% know whether this deal is going to get approved based on a multitude of factors. Did they get a financial default within the last 30 days? What is the actual asset that's actually backing it? If it's security, is there enough LVR within that? So the training cadence for most teams is going to be a daily and a weekly, and it's never going to stop. Okay, so it's going to be a 30-minute blocked out session. No calls, sales calls, any other meetings are going to happen within this time. And then weekly, this is a manager one-to-one. Okay, as well as a full team meeting. Okay, both run on fixed cadences. Because think about it like this: what's more important, a potential client that is going to land may like call leads or do something like that, a potential person that's going to land, or the chance that you now can take your conversion rate in say sales from a 10% to say a 20%. So now every month those 200 leads now don't convert at 20 deals, you convert at 40. It's just example numbers. But training is the most important thing in financial services and in finances businesses. So what do you actually do in a weekly one-on-one for every single department within your company? Number one is going to be personal check-in. The reason why you ask how they're doing and how their life is actually going is because if a serious personal issue arises, the whole session needs to be just about that and making sure they actually feel okay about that. Because if, for example, this is going to be an extreme example, but if your partner, your dog, someone's died, you're obviously not going to really care about your short-term performance and your long-term development. You're just grieving. So that's the biggest thing. A rep's life who is falling apart is not thinking about objection handling, how to get better on a call, okay? Once that's done, phase 2 is going to be going over short-term performance. So this is reviewing the submitted call recordings. We always recommend 5 to 7 pieces of call recordings of any department connected with sales. That could be credit because you're talking to people who the credit team calls and makes sure that the person verifies some details. That's still sales. They're contributing towards someone going from a lead all the way to a client. Okay, so 5 to 7 call recordings and pieces of sales information every single week submitted by the actual rep or the broker. And then you need to identify the specific pattern breakdown and you need to compare all of the actual things that you pick up when reviewing that against the written SOP, systems and process, or the script that you have for that specific task. So let's say it's a new lead and the opening needs to go, hey name, this is James from Biz Leadz. And they don't say it like that, or they say it too fast, they say it too slow, or they don't have the correct tone meaning speed, as well as the actual like how loud you are and how soft you're speaking. So for example, it's then comparing once again, finding those of the specific pattern breakdowns and then actually reviewing those with them in the short term. After that, you go into phase 3, which is long-term development. Okay, only if the rep is hitting quota and life is stable. Think of this as a checklist. Personal check-in. If life not stable, then don't go into short-term performance or long-term development. If personal check-in is good and short-term performance is bad, you stick on the rest of that 30-minute to an hour on the short-term performance. Okay, super simple. Then if personal check-in is good, short-term performance is good, you talk about long-term development, and this is weekly. So what do you want to be and where do you want to be in 2 or 3 years? What skills beyond selling do they actually want to build? Are there any events, mentorship, or external training that they actually want in order to actually invest in their future? Now you might think, oh, this is going to be a super repetitive thing for long-term development. But one of the biggest things that you can actually do with long-term development is not just go over something in 2 to 3 years. As we will cover slightly down, most of the things when you have a proper career progression framework set up is that you're actually going to have something like a promotion or a pay increase in the next 3 to 6 months. So let's jump straight into that. And these are things that you cover on long-term development. This just means something that's like, over 30 days. So short-term is like 30 to 60 days. Long-term is anything outside of 30 to 60 days. So career progression framework. This is one of the absolute biggest things that people miss. So the career ladder. So junior setter, senior setter, junior closer, senior closer. So what does this mean? If you are for example, a business finance brokerage, and you have a 2-tier system, which is an SDR, sales development representative, and they basically send applications after talking to leads to brokers so the brokers can close out the application and actually submit the deal and fund it. So 2 parts. This is what a career progression would look like for that. Junior SDR, then senior SDR. Okay, that's how the actual progression would look. And within that, you do a pay promotion in between it. So it would be junior SDR, it would be junior SDR, then it would be a pay increase for junior SDR. Then it would be SDR, then it would be a pay increase for SDR. Then it would be senior SDR and a pay increase for senior SDR. Okay, there's 6 progressions in SDR. Now, the biggest thing with people is, especially these days, the short-term gratification that people need to stay interested and at a job for a long period of time. Would you rather just go SDR and then in 12 months or 24 months you might become a broker? No, you would rather know that when I'm an SDR and that when I do exactly 50 live transfers or 50 full applications submitted to the broker, I go from junior SDR to then a actual junior SDR with a pay rise. And then the next progression is another 50. So then you do junior SDR with the pay rise to SDR now. So that is the best way to absolutely do it. And the smaller career progression framework, basically with the smaller jumps in between it of say 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, or even sometimes they take 120 or 180 days to actually do, you need to make sure that they're having constant progression of pay or of actual title, okay? Now, key tactic, the 30-day early promotion. The first 30 days is so important, okay? Every new hire is basically, they need to make sure that every single new hire, it says here that every new hire is promoted to senior, provided they hit the milestones. So that's talking about where they actually end up. But the first 30 days, you need to make sure that they're progressed in some way in 30 days, pay or title. That means your KPIs, hypothetically, let's say you can provide, let's say you're a car brokerage and you've got a dealership as a referrer and you get 30 leads a month from them and they convert at 15%. So that would be, for example, the SDR, or let's say now a broker as an example, their first month, they need to do 10 deals from that referral source, from that network. And then when they hit 10 deals, they're promoted straight from junior broker to now junior broker with a salary increase or a comp plan increase. Okay, they need to have a win early, so they want to keep earning the next one. Okay, now next is going to be the 4 pillars of team culture. Okay, how do you actually structure from the beginning before you hire someone so that every single person in the team is set off in the right direction first? Pillar 1 is pay. That is paying the highest you can. Money and respect is made then tangible. That is a huge thing. Secondly, is going to be progression, okay? Once again, a visible plan from day 30 through to day 365 and beyond. Number 3 is you taking a personal interest. You need a systemized care system for staff. Now, this sounds super robotic, But you literally need on a calendar your sales manager, whoever's the sales director, whoever's the actual CEO or founder, whoever that person is who's directly the team leader or management of the people under them, need to actually have specific set times where they talk about the actual personal interests of the person, whether it be going out for dinner, going out for a lunch, or actually just talking to them about how their life is going. That is such a big thing, okay? If, for example, they need to go to Melbourne, I'll give you a recent example. Someone in the team basically needed to go to Melbourne because they needed to do something for some of their family and take care of a dog. So it's like, yeah, of course you can go. He's obviously still working, and you can go and he's back in a week. That's a perfect example. Don't get held up over small little things that happen like that. Just let people do it if it's within the bounds. Don't always try and limit personal interest so much. And pillar number 4 is going to be professional development, okay? These are the 4 Ps. So pay, progression, personal interest, and professional development. Professional development is the training structure. That is one aspect of professional development. The knowledge that you will consistently get better because your CEO, sales manager, or sales director is consistently giving you weekly, monthly, and quarterly training internally is a huge motivator, okay? Absolute huge motivator, because you know that they know that people know that they are getting better. And then if you have the resource, if your team is big enough, you get external people in. That could be paying someone to go to a conference, paying someone to go and actually come into the team, or like a consultant to actually then teach the team. So let's dive a little bit further into pay, progression, personal interest, and professional development. So pay, number 1, pay is the foundation. You need to actually be above market base and making sure you have the most appropriate commission based. I've always found it doesn't matter the role. Find a way. If you think it's salary only, the amount of roles that are salary only are a very small amount, especially in finance. For example, back-end staff overseas. Let's say you've got someone who's helping you submit documents as a mortgage broker, a loan processor. So they still need a commission plan. If they get through, say they process, applications, they process 50 in a month, they need to get, $500, $1,000, whatever that may be. And commission ladders that will reward overachievers, not cap it. Okay. What you'll find is that with every single person, when you make the most amount of money in that month, meaning they do 20 deals instead of 10 for that given month, you make a disproportionate amount of profit, which means you want to share that with commission ladders that reward overachievers. And then once again, annual reviews tied to performance. So what that means is this is baked into the commission ladders. So at the annual review, it's basically reviewing how they have gone in terms of that, and then reviewing, are they on track to what you believed they were at the very start, or are they ahead, or are they right on it? And then transparent ranges, so reps can basically see the ceiling, or if there's any. So this is clearly actually planned out in the actual contract, in a KPI tracker monthly. It's actually transparent. Super, super important. And if you want A players, you are never going to get A player rates if you don't pay it. So I'm sure when you hired someone, you first thought, let's go commission only. And then you tried a $50,000 per year salary person. Then you tried 100,000, 200,000, 500,000. And I will tell you, the level of person you get at every single range is going to be the biggest difference you've ever seen. The first time I hired someone, say at $50,000, I was like, that's the best. That's so good. I got someone who's working for me now. And then say at 100,000, 150,000, you see the same. You're like, this person is working so hard. They're putting so many more hours in. And one of my previous companies, this was quite a large company that I didn't have 100% ownership of. And basically it was the biggest pay we ever paid someone was the head of a division, head of growth, who was basically the CEO, who was basically the COO, but they specialized in the product side, was being paid $1.2 million per year, $100,000 a month. And I know that seems incomprehensible, but I promise you that person could do what probably better than nearly every single founder that I've met personally. They were the best I've ever seen. No risk, making $1.2 million a year. So if you want A players, pay the A player rates. And just reference, that was a superstar. They one of probably the only 5 people I've ever seen who deserve that kind of pay ever. So they were a unicorn. So that's not every single person. Do not overpay for no reason. Progression. We've covered this already, but first promotion, junior to senior with a real pay rise. They get, for example, full independence once a quota is reached. So you need to think of every single one as not just its pay and promotion, but also potentially a slight little benefit that they get. So full independence, they now don't report to someone weekly or something like that. And then when you really need to start thinking about this is when you get to about 1 to 2 years. in the promotions, they need to be moving into some kind of senior or leadership position. Now, this doesn't mean sales manager, because you can think of this: sales director, sales manager, then you can go down to, say, a team leader, then you can go down to, say, a senior broker, then you can go down to a broker and a junior broker, senior SDR, junior SDR, junior SDR. There's like 10 levels just there. Okay. And then continuous milestones. You want progression to never stop. Okay. You should see a multi-year progression plan that it basically never stops, because let's say they get to sales director. Imagine what they've gone through to become a sales director when they've gone from SDR all the way through, or they've gone from a broker all the way through to sales director. You could now, when they get there and they stay there for 6 months, a year, you can now put them on and say some other profit share plan, because you want to retain them long term, because they basically run your whole sales department. So then you can start another milestone ladder that you set up for them. Okay. And high performance who can't see the future will leave. So you need to make sure they can see the future at 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. So you think about that. Okay, we've covered personal interests, so I won't really cover that. Weekly check-ins, know what matters to them outside of work. Basic stuff, this is just called being a human. And we've covered professional development, but this is a little bit more. So every week, daily and one-on-one training, 30-minute sessions, call recording reviews, role-playing the actual fix of what the issue is inside of the script, making sure you are constantly refining the script with them live so that they actually know why they're going wrong. Because when they know why and they understand it, they can start to self-correct themselves and slowly get better. Skill deepening. Full team training days, guest speaker or coaches coming in, vertical deep dives, objection library updates, things like this every single month. And then every quarter, you can take things like there's external investment in courses or events. You go to an industry conference, for example. You invest in more mentorship or coaching, and then skills outside the direct role. So let's say you see them being an amazing team leader or sales manager one day. You then start to invest in their sales manager abilities. So you would run them through this exact thing of how to actually coach someone and go through it. Okay. Then internal training. So day-to-day roles, weekly call reviews, manager-led tutoring, live shadowing sessions. Here's another example of external training, which we've already covered. Okay. Skills compound. A rep who gets 1% every week is a completely different person in, say, 12 months. Because in finance, the greatest thing about finance is because every deal can be worth so much and there can be such a large lifetime value within every single deal, the actual ROI of having someone who gets paid $150,000, $250,000 per year as a sales manager onto a company that has 10 to 20, 50, 100 staff is enormous. It's literally the biggest game-changing thing that you can ever do. Because instead of you focusing on, oh, I can do 20 deals a month, you start thinking I can get 10 or 20 people to all of them to getting to 15 deals a month, and 10 people, that's 150 deals versus you being able to do 20 or 30. You are literally getting 5 or 10 times the output. So instead of you focusing on, oh, I'm going to be the best, and the ego attached to the sales as being a founder, director, or anything like that, you basically turn that over. Now, you're probably thinking, when does that actually change? So when do you actually start to look at when that changes? You would start to look at when that changes is when you start to see a double in what you're able to do. So if you have 3 people that are doing 10 deals and you're doing, say, 30 deals, you can see how you taking your time could get them to a double, but it's probably going to be a bit difficult. Okay, so it's right around there when you can see just putting time into the team to get them that extra 10, 30, 50% up is going to more than double what you're doing. Because remember, you'll still be able to write deals, but you'll go from 30 deals to, say, 20 because you're now putting 1/3 of your time into training. So hopefully that was valuable, going through every single thing. Let's quickly recap. So training culture, making sure that you know volume is the number one thing. Having a trading cadence that you are actually meeting with every single person daily and weekly. Okay, what to actually cover in the weekly one-on-one. Screenshot this and use this. Career progression framework. Go back into that section and look at the junior setter, senior setter, junior closer, senior closer, and actually create a system for your company. Then these are the 4 pillars. This basically means before you ever get a job ad or bring someone on, you need to sit down and go, how do I make the pay the best? How do I make progression the best? How do I make the personal interest schedule the best? How do I make professional development the best? And that is how you attract A players and superstars, and what I've learned after hiring over 200 people over the last 6.5 years. Hopefully you found that valuable. And if you have any nuanced questions around anything I covered, this is quite a important topic for businesses, especially finance businesses, comment it. I'll get back to you personally so that everyone can actually see that. But apart from that, like, subscribe for more videos on this topic.